Right, let's take that further now. Salga's governance chairperson, Samkelo Janda, joins us now for more on that conversation. Mr. Janda, good to have you, and thank you very much for your time. Maybe a good place to start, differing views on how to resolve poor performance at municipalities. Does that make for a constructive relationship between yourself and COGTA?
Good evening to you, sir, and good evening to the viewers. Well, our view as the South African Local Government Association is that, as the President indicated earlier on, is that we need to sit down and have frank discussions about the problems that we encounter as municipalities, because we are holding a view that the problems in the majority of municipalities is systemic, one, and number two, the problems in other municipalities, you'll find out that they are complicated by the issues of the lack or the failure to be able to collect revenue. And when we say the problems as well as systemic, we mean that in certain instances you have municipalities that were amalgamated, which are giving problems now, and the amalgamation processes were not completed in some certain instances, which are then leading to some element of dysfunctionality. Yeah. So our view is that the only thing that will help us is for us to sit around the table and then have frank discussion, so that we come with our own perspective and listen to other people's views. Hence, we are hoping that next week in the Council of Speakers and in the Council of Mayors, which will be holding at Limpopo, we shall have that opportunity with the 7th administration to sit down and have those frank discussions. And of course, we know it might not be the end of those discussions. We will have even bilaterals with various ministers, as I indicated, because these problems are not only have to be dealt with by COGTA. That is why we also believe that we really need to have a proper diagnosis of the problem for each municipality.
So, I mean, at the heart of it, the 100 perpetually sluggish municipalities, 30 of them completely dysfunctional, if you were to ask the Auditor General, yes, revenue collection is part of the problem, but large part of the problem is non-compliance with legislative frameworks, particularly when it comes to financial controls. So how would you say is Salga assisting here in this particular aspect? Because, for example, Section 38 already requires that municipalities have performance management systems in place, which would have early warning signs, which will have increased accountability, which will have aspects of organizational performance and so on and so forth. Why have these things not been put in place, and why has Salga sat and watched while these things were happening?
Thanks once again. Salga is not watching. Salga, we have made as an association a number of interventions and came up with a number of programs that are assisting the municipalities. But we are saying we need to have a collaborative effort, not only as municipalities, but we have to work together with the provincial sphere of government. We have to work with the national sphere of government, so that we are able then to utilize the provisions that are in the Constitution, which is Section 154 of the Constitution, which says we must be assisted as municipalities, because there's one thing that we cannot run away, that in certain instances, it is the issue of incapacity. But we say when we look into this issue of the capacity, we must look at it from all spheres of government in terms of how we see this lack of capacity and how we can then work together to bring that capacity in the municipalities.
But why is that an issue of an afterthought? I mean, once the municipal objectives and targets are set, is that not done up against the back view of whether do we have capacity to carry out these objectives? And if we then agree we've got capacity, what should happen to that municipality that fails to meet its objectives and aims?
Yes, one other point that we cannot run away is that in certain municipalities that would have been categorized as municipalities that are dysfunctional, when you come closer, that is why we are saying we need to have proper diagnosis. You would find out that at times they would try to attract some level of capacity, and you would find out that they are struggling to attract those capacities in those municipalities. And that is why we are saying we have these programs as Salga to assist municipalities. That is why at the same time we have seen now collaboration between Salga and COGTA and Treasury so that we can have joint programs that are assisting municipalities, because e-capacity is an ongoing process. So once you have those people in place, you need to have a continuous kind of a program that is going to assist these municipalities. Hence, we are also saying, even at the level of the province and at the level of municipalities, of national, we have to see Uguti is the capacity that is brought to municipalities to assist, is it adequate enough to be able to help them? Because that's the responsibility of all of us as these three spheres of government. We have that joint responsibility to work with municipalities so that we get out of the situation that we are in, as indicated in the report, which indicates these 32 municipalities that are under intervention.
How are you going to do that as Salga? Because, I mean, it's difficult even for me to count in my one hand a municipality that can come on this show and admit that we don't have capacity. None of them will want to admit they don't have capacity. How do you, as Salga, suggest you will get those municipalities to admit that we don't have capacity to perform, and therefore, earlier on in the process, bring and help us constructively with capacity?
We have engagements with our municipalities, and in those engagements, we also have assessment programs that we are doing with them, where we try to talk to them so that they may indicate the areas that they would require this kind of interventions in terms of bringing the capacity and upskilling their capacities to be able to perform. But secondly, we are also engaging, or we are in partnership with COGTA, because we have even agreed when we were looking into the levels of spending in municipalities, the grants, and we agreed with COGTA that indeed we need to up the game in terms of the capacity, working together with MISA, and those programs we share with our municipalities, whether it is through our working groups or whether it is through our members' assemblies or one-on-one. We have programs which we call hands-on support programs. And when we interact with the municipalities with these hands-on support programs, we are able then to see the impact that they are making. So we are able to find out the challenges out of these engagements with municipalities and in the assessments that we are doing. Hence, we are also calling on the province and national that utilizing the reports that we are submitting to provinces and to national, that might also help these two other spheres to be able to come up with programs that are going to help or if you like, the early warning programs that are going to help us to make the interventions in terms of the capacities for these municipalities. We are able to do that, and we have started to do that, working together in ensuring that we strengthen the intergovernmental relations with various departments.
At what point does Salga admit that your analysis and your programs are not working? Let me just put it that way. Because it was Salga itself, with your analysis and programs that are in place, that then came out and said to us, you've got, for example, officials in the finance departments who have no qualifications. And they've been there, they've been working in these municipalities, and they are part of the reason why you're getting the poor outcomes in terms of the financial assessments. You've had these analyses, you've had these programs. How are you not able to pick those people up in the system?
When it's indicated themselves as we are able to pick up these problems, and we are working with these challenges that we have identified. There are programs, there are specific programs that are focusing on specific departments and programs per each municipality based on those assessments. And if you may even compare with some of the reports, even though not on a bigger scale, there are indications that when we receive a reciprocal reception from municipalities, we are able to make the impact. But we can as well say that it is not an easy exercise to be able at once to be able to deal with the challenges that are facing municipalities because of a number of reasons, as I indicated, that you need to have, in certain instances, people that will be attracted in these municipalities, but at certain instances, municipalities are struggling to attract the requisite skill that would be able to help the municipalities. But we're not folding our arms. We have programs that are dedicated and targeting the municipalities as they were identified as municipalities that require this kind of an intervention.
So let's take that one aspect that we have spoken about, right? And you are now going to sit around the table with the minister. What is going to be your suggested strategy, appropriate strategy to absorb or attract the lacking skills and capacity? Because it seems that is one of the areas you're saying that local municipalities are lacking in the ability to attract the necessary skills and capacity.
This is why we are saying we should have differentiated approaches to municipalities based on the problems that they are faced with. And then so that we don't have a one-size-fits-all kind of an approach for the interventions. And even attracting those skills, we must be able to see and come up with a differentiated approach. And secondly, one thing that we would want to engage Minister with is that we must as well and come up with incentives to municipalities so that those who are performing better, we are able then to encourage them, and so that to those municipalities that repeatedly are showing no signs of improving, we are then able to say these are the kind of consequences that you may take, so that you are able to encourage or you are able to discourage this kind of misbehaviors in the municipalities when they are given all that could have been provided. We are also, on the other hand, working with municipalities to improve the systems, because that's one other element that we need to improve in the systems in municipalities, so that then they are able to better perform as municipalities. So we will be engaging the minister on those various aspects, based on what we would have assessed, in fact, with the reports that we have in terms of what is lacking in the municipalities in terms of these capacities.
Mr. Janda, we appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming on. Chairperson for Governance